My name's Nicoletta Primo. I'm half Scottish, half Italian. I've grown up in Edinburgh my whole life. I'm 21 and I study here at the University of Edinburgh. I do international relations and law. The referendum, whatever way it goes, I think what it's done is it's been great in the fact that it's got people who've never maybe really been engaged in politics, people who felt they can't have engaged in politics, who feel excluded from the political system. It's got them talking, it's got people saying, having given opinions about political debates, it's got friends chatting, it's got friends falling out sometimes, but the fact is that people are again talking about politics. So if it was a yes vote, in that sense, I think that all these things that the Yes campaign are doing, they're not going to become instantaneous as soon as we get a yes vote. It's still something for civil society to participate in and to shape an independent Scotland. Now, you asked about if it was a no vote. Well, I think that's very interesting as well. I think that this won't suddenly just go away, this momentum that Yes has been building up. There's going to be continued pressure on Westminster to give Scotland more autonomy, more powers, more fiscal policy in that sense. Scottish identity, I think that's a really good question to ask. A lot of people say that voting yes is being nationalistic, it's being in love with Alex Salmond, it's loving the SNP, it's being eating haggis, wearing a Jimmy hat and a kilt. That's not, for me, that's not what Scottish identity is. I think identity does come into it because Scotland is quite a multicultural place, it's a multicultural society, especially places like Glasgow. We've got a really big Asian community there, and for me being Scottish, it's fusions of different cultures, different beliefs, different origins with Scottish ones, and I think it all comes together quite nicely. And I think it's important to reiterate that, so we debunk these myths that everyone voting yes hates English people and basically is all for nationalism and the SNP, because that's not necessarily true. I think it's important though to remember that this isn't this is a referendum, it's not a general election. So by voting yes doesn't mean to say you're some sort of hippie socialist or you're some sort of right-wing conservative. It's voting here for an opportunity, and I think sometimes we should maybe perhaps look past party politics in it, which is just an opinion of mine when I try and sort of canvass to people for the yes side, is that this isn't a vote for SNP, it's not a vote for the Greens, or it's not a vote for certain members of the Labour Party, and it's not saying no to Conservatives. It's simply voting for an opportunity more than anything else. So if I was to, for example, if I was to go canvassing and to sort of try and promote the yes side, I would ask people to think not just of themselves, but to think of wider Scottish society. So you might be quite comfortable in the position you're staying in, but I think a lot of us can forget those who are maybe less fortunate in Scotland. For example, food banks have been a huge increase in the use of food banks recently because of recent benefit sanctions to people, controls on welfare spending and cuts and things like that. ATOS, which is a disability assessment company, a lot of suicides and things have resulted from that, which are all Westminster policies. I would also reiterate the point that every general election, if we take Scottish votes out from say about 1998 to the present day, take Scottish votes out of the whole sort of votes in total, they don't make a difference, not one bit. We still would get the same government every time, even if Scotland's voted very different. You know, you've got a vote here, this vote is so valuable, and wouldn't it be nice if you voted and it actually reflected what the population voted?
I'm Maggie Gibson. I'm a Scottish poet. I was born in a very small town in central Scotland, an ex-mining and weaving town, so there's quite a left-wing or socialist background there. And I've lived quite a few places, but about 10 years ago I moved to Glasgow and I've been living in Glasgow since. I actually became involved when I was asked to write an essay for the book Unstated, edited by Scott Hames from Stirling University. Scott approached me, and on the basis of a poem which I had written many years ago called Scotland, Oh Scotland, where I was bemoaning the fact that Scotland doesn't take responsibility for itself. Now, at the point that Scott asked me to write the essay, I hadn't decided which way I would be voting in the referendum. I was aware that it was about 2 years off. I was going to have to start thinking about it. It was actually in the process of writing the essay. When I finished the essay, I realised I was actually coming down on the side of voting yes. And since then, listening to the debates that are going on, I've firmed up my opinion more. And in my essay, I think it's where I draw the parallels with a woman wanting to leave her husband. It's actually quite important to note that the way I do that, this woman has not actually been abused within that relationship. She just hasn't been given full autonomy. She's not been given a full equal say. She doesn't have control of finances as much as her husband does, but she's not been abused, which is why, as with the England-Scotland thing, England are hurt. They're saying, we don't understand, why would you want to leave? But in order to assert independence, whether it's a woman or whether it's a country, you have to take the risk. But the prizes for you are so great if you do it. You might have difficulties along the way, but there is a lot to actually be gained from doing it. People are worried about how will England react. And of course, the Better Together campaign has been throwing the most ridiculous threats about that, for example, Scotland wouldn't be allowed to use the pound sterling, which is our currency, that Scotland won't be able to stay in the European Union. All these things, everything, that Scotland won't have any defences against invasion by by Russia. All these things are getting thrown at Scotland as being huge risk factors. So you would have to ask, well, how will England react if Scotland votes independence? England is going to do what's in England's interests, and it's not going to be in England's interests to suddenly build a wall across between Scotland and England and say we're not playing with you anymore. So I think again, this is a kind of scare tactic which is used. This is the one chance. If it's certainly in my lifetime, if Scotland votes no, I think that any effort to really get an independence movement going again is going to be very, very difficult. And I really, I actually